Yes. Test. That sounded better. Yes, it did. Oh, it's answering me. Pretty good. Don't put me in a room by myself. I have not heard from anyone that they would not be here tonight. So up to you. You want me to text them real quick? That's fine. Hello, Michael. Wow.
I wasn't going to say that. You ready? I'll give you a minute to catch breath. You All right. 6 o'clock on the dot. I call to order our Business and Development Services Committee meeting, July 6th, 2026. All committee members are present, as well as Mr. Duncan, Ms. Miller, various and sundry important people in the audience. Public comment? Nothing? Reading and approval of minutes.
Move for approval is presented. Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right. They're approved. Mr. Deerhog.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and commission members or committee members. Briefly, we have a couple of new projects going to be starting up in the city, including a new boutique shop out at the new shopping center at 1140 East Butler Road. And phase 2 for the YMCA is about to get underway. It's going to include a new covered outdoor pool and 3 new athletic fields, among some other items. So I know they're very excited about that. Community's excited about that. We're excited about that. Business license season has been going well so far. Our renewals have been up 29% since last year, and that number actually feels like it keeps increasing a little bit each month. So we're happy to see that. We're kind of getting into our delinquent season now. So we're trying to chase down all the delinquent businesses and get them to get their licenses renewed. So that remains a work in progress. But we have issued some licenses for some new businesses that are coming to the city. There's a handful of them. I'm not going to list them all, but I know one that probably is of interest is Maverick Biscuit has moved out. We've got a new restaurant moved in there called I'm going to butcher this, Alabrije Breakfast and Grill. Haven't found anything on the web yet for them, but hopefully they'll find a web presence soon. But we're going to experience it. It seems like for right now, you're just going to have to go in the store. But we have some other offices and wholesale businesses that have opened up throughout the city this month, and excited to have them. One other I'll mention is we have the Wandering Bard Meadery, which is a meadery and tap room that has moved into 201 Murray Drive, and that was the former location of Dapper Dog. So check them out. And Holy Smoke is also back open if you haven't seen that as well. They were shut down for a fire for a little while, but they're back at it now. That's the report I have for you tonight. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer those.
Any questions? Questions? All right. Thanks, sir. Unfinished business. There is none. New business. We're on to the appointments of boards and commissions. Mr. Deerhog.
All right, I'm going to tackle the zoning board of appeals first. We had two members who their terms have expired at the end of June, Philip Cochran and Paul Calabrese. Mr. Cochran has requested his appointment be extended for an additional term of 3 years. Mr. Calabrese has expressed that he wishes to be replaced on the board. In addition to Mr. Cochran, there were two other citizens of the city of Mauldin who have applied for appointment to the board. That includes Manuel Barrientos and Keith Coons. And I have information as well as their applications in your packets about them. As far as what we're looking for the committee to do tonight is, if it wishes to do so, is to recommend potentially two of those three candidates onto the city council to consider for appointment.
Committee?
So what we're looking for is a motion for two of the three,
Correct.
in essence.
Ms. Miller is equipped with ballots if you want to elect to do it that way as well.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick point of inquiry. David, on the appointment term, is it for a 3-year term? Or,
Yes.
and are they sequential or at the same time, or are they staggered based on?
So we have 7 members on that board, and they're all staggered, but some of them, like we're seeing here, double up on the year in which they're staggered, because there's 7 of them, and only every 3 years they're getting reappointed. So we have 2 of those that are up this year.
Yes, Mr. Matt.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, how about we go ahead and divide them BZA versus Planning Commission? That way it gives us 2 different motions. And if that's okay with you, then I would go ahead and move that we reappoint the 3 members of the Planning Commission who have applied for reappointment.
I'm good with that. We have a motion.
Second.
Planning Commission and a second. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, and you beat me to the punch here, but that was the second part is the Planning Commission. We have 3 seats expiring there, and the 3 who occupy those seats have applied for reappointment. We did not receive any other applications.
Sorry, I read ahead, Mr.
You're good. No, let's get the easy ones done first.
All right, we got a motion and a second. No discussion. All those in favor of I guess we forward to council for motion to approve. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, we'll forward those on. Got the easy one out of the way. Now we're on to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
And Mr. Chairman, while you're pondering on the zoning board of appeals, I wanted to note, and I think I noted it in a communication, but we did request the 2 new applicants, since they're kind of unknown to us, to submit a video of themselves, just introducing themselves and discussing their interest in the board and their qualifications for the board. Of those 2, we only had one who actually did submit that video. Hopefully you got that. Maybe you have had a chance to review it. The other individual, he declined that opportunity. So just wanted to make sure that was out there.
Yeah, thank you for that. I guess for the record, that was at my request. 1, to save us a little bit of time, and 2, to maybe judge how seriously the applicants would be willing to take the process by being willing to give up a little bit of their time and make a little effort to show their interest.
Do you want to do a ballot, or would you prefer?
I don't know that we need to do a ballot, but if
I'm fine either way.
I'm good with just a motion, if we feel like if you have a motion to make.
Mr. Allgood?
You got a motion in mind? Go right ahead. If not, then I would then do the ballot. But if you've got a motion,
I'm fine to make the motion. Move to reappoint Philip Cochran and to appoint Manuel Barrientos.
Motion?
Second.
Second? All right. Is there any discussion? No discussion? All right. So all those in favor of passing that along to the full council as approval, say aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign, hearing none. All right. Public comment non-agenda? Nothing. Committee concerns? Nothing. All right. Want to hear an adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
This will be official time. No discussion? All right. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:09.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'd already moved on to the workshop agenda.
You're reading ahead all night tonight.
Maybe there's a World Cup game to go to or watch.
Yeah, I was thinking about dinner before that, but you go Friday?
To fireworks.
Oh, to the Friday amped up Friday night. Really wanted to see that man, but I was stuck with it Saturday.
They're good. I can. They're pretty good.
Yeah, you enjoyed them? No.
I do it from my back.
Yeah.
Right, special call city council workshop for July the 6th, Monday, 6 something, 6:10, how about that one? 6:10, call to order, okay, with us. Record strict all members of council are present along with our city administrator, assistant city administrator, and our building development services director and finance director. Thank you, Holly. All your friends are surrounding you. The only item on our business is a municipal tax relief act. That update come from our city administrator. I can't talk as fast as Taft. Mr. Duncan, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No worries, sir. And I know we typically do workshops in a roundtable setting, so sorry about the difference tonight. Wasn't sure who all was coming out for this because I know that it's been a hot topic among municipalities in our area. But back in May, the South Carolina legislature approved and the governor signed. Make sure I can get this to work properly. Nope, not yet. Maybe next time. There we go. Approved something called the Municipal Tax Relief Act, which was Senate Bill 866, which allows the imposition of a 1% sales tax within the municipality for property tax relief and infrastructure improvements. The act is modeled after similar countywide optional sales tax programs and must be approved by referendum. Staff, we're here tonight presenting this information to council for consideration. And if this is something that council would like for staff to move forward with, there's a pretty aggressive timeline in order to meet the ballot requirements by Greenville County Voter Registration Office. So the Municipal Tax Relief Act, or MTRA, or the Act, is a referendum that imposes a 1% sales and use tax within the municipality for property tax relief and specified infrastructure improvements. No less than 20% of the funds generated must be used to provide a credit against the taxpayer's municipal ad valorem tax liability for owner-occupied property. So basically, for those that live and own property in the city, it provides tax relief to them, as well as it imposes that 1% sales tax on goods and services that are bought within the city. The remaining funds, other than the minimum 20% property tax relief, must be used for highways, road, streets, bridges, traditional public infrastructure projects, but also administration buildings, civic center, police stations, fire stations, things that are again traditional municipal infrastructure projects. The maximum time that this tax could be implemented is for 8 years. It must be chosen in two year increments. We may utilize bonds for projects listed, and we use tax proceeds to repay the bonds. The referendum must be put to the voters during a general election. So this year would be an eligible year. The next available opportunity would be 2028 if we chose not to move forward with it this year after being approved by an ordinance of council. So we will have to adopt an ordinance in order to at least put the referendum before the voters. If enacted, the 1% sales tax would begin being imposed on May 1st following the referendum and expire on April 30th of the year adopted in the ordinance. So with that, we're going to talk some numbers for a few minutes. So some of these, and these were available in your packet as well. These are our revenue projections. Now, these were done last week prior to we actually received the official number from Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office today. So this is what we had 1 year of capture. They have actually submitted to us the full 8-year capture. So when I refresh this, if we move forward with this, it'll actually reflect the RFA official values that we'll use for these projections. But for now, the projections you see here both list the net taxable sales within the city. I projected a 2% baseline growth rate. So then the average sales, a 1% or a penny equivalent revenue projection, and then a breakdown of property tax relief, which is the minimum value there of 20%, and a project's revenue of 80%. And so over the course of a projected 8 years, this could deliver to the city property owners 8 million, almost 3.8 million in property tax relief, and to infrastructure projects, we could see about 15.5 million, and likely more once I have the updated figures from RFA of project revenue that could go toward city infrastructure projects of council's choosing. And so with that, some of the, let's talk first about the property tax credit. The property tax relief designed into this bill or this law now is determined by the credit is the property value times the total estimated revenue allotted to the credit divided by the total assessed value of property in the city. We did receive some figures from Greenville County. And so what we've created here is just kind of an estimated chart based on the the total assessed value, the TAV, in that third column of 4% property within the city, and then the credit rate. So you would take that and then multiply it by the property value as it's listed on your property tax bill. This is not your fair market value, which is what we all think about when we talk about property tax or property values. This is how the assessor's office assesses your value of your property based on what's built, your home and things like that. And so as you can see here, for a home that has a property, an assessed property value of $150,000 in year one, that credit would be around $31.76 at 20%. And then the scale goes up to 600,000. I just chose these kind of at random because our average TAV or total estimated value or tax property value is actually around 258,000. So it's kind of in that halfway. It's closer to the $63 metric that or number there than it would be to that 31 for most average owners in the city. And so with that, this is just kind of the general high level overview. But some of the projects that staff put together as kind of the short list includes things that now, again, this is related to the 80% piece, would be things like Sunset Park redevelopment and expansion. So park improvements there, Holland Road improvements are listed out at about $3 million. Our street resurfacing, so this is based on the latest PCI analysis we had done. And so if you take the scores or road segments that scored within those defined areas there, we have in the worst condition between that 11 and 25, just less than 3/4 of a mile. Between 26 and 40 on the PCI scores, a little over 2.5 miles. In that 41 to 55, 5.6 miles. And then 56 to 70, it's almost 10 miles. And so just those road segments combined is about 18, almost $19 million worth of work. So we wanted to kind of break those down in segments. So then that way, if this is something that council wants to move forward with, you kind of have you could do a potpourri approach. You could do an all, hey, let's just do it on just roads. And this is kind of outlining what those cost estimates are, at least our preliminary cost estimates. Also have in here sports center expansion improvements. And I'll back up and say this, all of these projects are derived from our 10-year CIP plan, which is part of our budget. And so in some capacity, it's all listed there. Fire Station 5 is in here as well with an estimated budget, as well as cultural center grounds and improvements. And that we probably could have added a few other things in here as well related to infrastructure improvements or transportation related improvements. But it was a starter, a conversation starter more than anything else as far as these projects go. And then just real quick and I'm happy to go back to any of these, answer any questions whenever y'all are ready. Just a timeline. We're introducing what the act is tonight to talk about a little bit more than July 20th. If we were moving forward, we could have first reading on July 20th, which is our standing monthly council meeting. We could then do our second reading at August 3rd as a special call with a possible public hearing. Now, this is something that the ordinance doesn't specify a public hearing, but I think based on the way that other fees and taxes are implemented, you traditionally would have a public hearing associated with those. So I would recommend that we do a public hearing. So that way, as word gets out, if we're moving forward with this initiative, then at least the public would have an opportunity to make any comments known and heard as well. Then on August 17th, that is the last day to transmit an adopted ordinance to Greenville County Voter Registration and Election Board with our language for the referendum itself, which the act actually gives us the language. We just have to insert for how long and our city name and then the project name and the amount. So it's pretty straightforward. So nothing to really invent or reinvent there, thankfully. Then October 21st, the ballot question and project list will be published in newspaper of general circulation by Greenville County. Then that's just the referendum piece. Then the actual election day, November 4th, voters will have a chance to decide and it goes to all ballots that are being cast within the municipality. So every precinct and even early voting, all of those voters would have a chance to weigh in on this ballot question. If implemented by the voters, then the first collection day would be May 1/27, and then the first quarterly distribution to us from the state would be August of 2027. I didn't throw in all the bond information in here, but basically, if we're bonding it, we just got to add some additional language to our ordinance, which is not really that significant. At this point right now, Greenville City is taking this up, as well as Simpsonville. I believe Simpsonville's already had the first reading on this ordinance. And then I believe Travelers Rest is also looking at this point. I don't believe the other municipalities in the city are moving forward with it at this time, but may consider it in the future. But that's kind of the brief high level overview of what this is. Happy to answer any questions, talk about, do we want to move forward with this? And if so, thinking about the project list, we don't have to decide anything tonight. That's not the objective. The objective was just to get this out there, and then we'll tee it up for if council wants to move forward with it for first reading at our next council meeting, at which time we would probably want to start finalizing those projects if we're moving forward with it. And that way we're prepped and ready to go for second reading in August. And But it's an aggressive timeline if we're trying to make this ballot. It's not going to be an aggressive timeline if we decide to hold off and wait till 2028. We could do a whole series of workshops and other things and the build up to that. So it's really just it's enough money that we need to at least have a conversation. And then however council wants to decide and as to which direction we go, we just go from there. That I'll be quiet.
If we did first reading and second reading as you laid out here, but we decided to hold the referendum to the public, we would then hold until the next general election in 2028.
If we wanted to hold the referendum until 2028, we probably wouldn't use this timeline at all. We would probably, if we want to go ahead and get the ordinance passed, we could, but we would probably run it through the standard committee process and flush out all the projects. So then that way it's kind of clear and precise from first reading. But it was a long time to shelve an ordinance because project priorities may change between the adoption and then the ultimate referendum in 2028. But that would be my only advice about that.
I guess that's what I'm trying to get clear in my little brain. We get first and second reading of the ordinance. We basically already have to have projects listed in the 20% estimate, even though we're maybe not going to the voters for the approval. We got to already have all the wording set up, which is subject to change in 2 years.
Right. So if yes, sir, if we were aiming for a 28 ballot initiative, we wouldn't really, we'd just shelve this for now and talk about it probably about 6 months or so to 9 months before all of the due dates in 2028 at that time. This timeline would only be appropriate if we wanted to get it on this ballot this year.
And if we did that and it all went well, the May 1st effective day of tax collection, is that when we would start charging the extra 1 penny sales tax?
Yes, sir. Because this comes through the Department of Revenue, it goes the sales and use tax program. It would all be handled and administered through them as far as notifying all the businesses that are eligible, what product listings are it's susceptible to or susceptible to it, and then they would handle the collections as part of their regular sales and use tax. And having someone who used to work for the Department of Revenue on council, she might have better insight to how all that works mechanically as well.
So basically, when they get their first effective date of tax collections in, say, the center part of the state, in 3 months, they're going to start sending us back money.
Yes, sir. Yeah, on a quarterly basis. And I'm pretty sure that's how it works for all the sales tax, local optional sales tax across the county or across the state.
And Mr. Mayor, that May 1st date, anytime any local option tax is passed in the November election, it's standard, it's a fixed May 1st date when Department of Revenue starts implementing that through sales tax with businesses. So my question is, do we identify projects prior to, if it were approved as a referendum for this election cycle, those
Yes.
projects would have to be identified prior to the election in November?
Yes, ma'am, because we would want to adopt, or we're required to adopt the language of the ballot as part of the ordinance. So we would already have included the projects.
But we could, I mean, when you say the potpourri effect, that means that you could have more than one project
Yes, ma'am.
and split up the anticipated revenues.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And so I've gotten a peek of another municipality's ballot, and they just did a single line with all the revenue going to a kind of
One
a
thing.
broad statement, whereas we could be very specific. The ballot requirement is, and it will be listed on the ballot as well, but it would say something to the effect of like what we have here: Sunset Park redevelopment and expansion, 4.5 million. And it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many we want, or it could all just be one bucket, and it could be municipal street resurfacing program and storm whatever. It's however we want to talk about resurfacing city owned roadways, and then that 18 point whatever we project that revenue to be once I plug in the new numbers.
I have a silly question.
Really.
100% of the sales tax comes back to the city. Department of Revenue doesn't keep 0.001% or whatever.
There's no cost share or administrative portion or cut articulated in the act. And so unless, and I saw Councilwoman King shaking her head no. So I don't know for sure. I believe what Ms. King is saying, that they're not going to take a cut, but I definitely would, I'll follow up on that.
Yeah,
for sure.
any level of government is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Department of Rev. I mean, I don't want to be specific. Is it if we collect $1 million, we citizens receive $1 million?
It's my understanding is it's a simple pass through, but I definitely will get a confirmation on that.
Mr. Reynolds, the research that I did on it, it would be treated like any other local option sales tax.
Okay.
Transportation, capital funds, whatever that might look like, and that entire amount comes back to generally the county, but in this case, it would be to the city.
When and thinking through some of the projects, these aren't new projects. Like, so for us, these are things that are in capital plan. These are things we're looking at and going. I think what I'm trying to say is, as this wasn't just plopped in our lap. It's one of those that there's been thoughtfulness put to. These are the types of things that integrate into our master plan. And this is a potential avenue to exercise that, because $18 million isn't easy to find in our budget. I don't know if I'm ashamed to say or not, but these can obviously be contentious for lots of reasons. I remember my first term. There was a time you couldn't buy alcohol on Sunday, city limit. So bringing the simple question became support for the question. So as we consider this, I want to be careful that we talk a lot about it being referendum. We're taking the representative republic out of it and turning it into an actual democracy where you get to choose. Because, like I said, what we noticed, or what I remember from that specifically, was it didn't matter whether you supported it or not. It mattered that we have to make the decision to put it on the ballot so that they can decide whether they report it or they support it. But that simple act turned into support thereof. And I don't care what Frank thinks of it or what I think about it. When I go into the ballot box, that becomes my decision. But just as we navigate this, just bear in mind. Next door is still a thing, apparently.
Just to piggyback on Mr. Reynolds, typically I am never for an increase in tax, but for this, and you made an excellent point, it is a referendum. And for me, with reading and hearing on, no pun intended, but on the streets about our poor road conditions, this is an avenue for voters to voice, to vote one way or the other. If this council decided to have all or a portion of the funds, if approved, go to street resurfacing. So for me, I don't think we would be doing our citizens justice if we did not forward this to council for a vote to be considered in November, just simply because it's an avenue to collect dollars to do projects, especially street resurfacing, that is very much needed, as we all know. Again, typically I do not support the local tax, because I think the state needs to do a better job of budgeting and spending that money. That's my personal decision. That's my personal reason. But in this case, I think it is a referendum, and it gives the voters a chance to speak and to vote the way they want to.
So only in Colombia would they say, we're going to increase taxes by 19 million. We're going to give you back 4 and call that a reduction. This is the only reason we're probably even considering this right now, because we're not getting any money for the roads like we promised we would. There's $1.85 billion in a fund, which we don't have access to. And some of our friends in the upstate have decided they're going to spend $300 million to build a bridge to Walmart. So we're all now short on our funds on our roads. So we are now considering, how can we help our roads? We've taxed our people for those roads. We're spending it again for a bridge to Walmart. And I'm looking at this here, and we want to increase taxes again. The most unpopular thing next to COVID was adding a 1 cent, a 15% increase in sales tax in the county to build that bridge to Walmart. This seems to me to be a lot about a damn bridge to Walmart. This is nuts. This, all I can think of when I'm looking at this here is a quote by Robert Downey Jr., never go full retard. That's what this is. I will not support taking this out of any committee or anything for the city. This is ridiculous. We're trying to fix what other politicians have screwed up, period. And I feel even worse for the other cities that are in worse shape than we are, trying to figure out how to do the same thing, because they're under the gun as well. This is because of other politicians and other people making rules that we try to live by and trying to help our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Craven. Hey, since I sit on GPATs, the Woodruff Road Congestion Relief Corridor, that is what they officially are calling it. And I understand the terminology, bridge to Walmart. You are correct. There is no fix to Walmart, because they're talking about bringing it in at Smith Hines Road, which is before you get to Walmart. But this has nothing to do with those funds. Those GPAT funds are federal funds and state funds that do come back. So this does not get intermingled. Thing that I'll be sure we understand is this is our city, our tax coming directly back to us, and what we've heard from someone who spent some time in Columbia on that part of the projection, revenues and expenses and stuff like that. I appreciate that. So we do get that back. From that standpoint, we all hear about our city-owned roads, and we all try to pass the data back and try to get facts back that, yes, state of South Carolina is a screwy road system, but it was 14 years ago that they didn't do any maintenance. We got state-owned roads, county-owned roads, and city-owned roads. No one really cares, no matter how much we try to talk to them, that East Butler's a state-owned road. It's supposed to have been fixed by 2016. 10 years later, we hopefully going to fix it this year. Start it anyway. So Ashmore Ridge Road is the same thing. This one, be sure you guys understand, this would be focused on what a city wants to do with money that was taken out of our citizens' pocket, kind of thing, versus the GPAT funds, which this will not get intermingled with. So I understand the passion, and I've been very passionate with my meetings with DOT and trying to explain it. And then we seeing some daylight at the end of the tunnel, in my opinion, but we're still way behind the 8 ball on getting our roads fixed. I mean, just look at Holland Road. Does anybody disagree that that road needs, that's 5-lane and it needs fixed? It doesn't need fixed because the soccer stadium recently opened. It was already in bad shape for the last 2 years. If you were carrying children to school over there, recognize that. You know it needs to be fixed. Look at the money just to fix the one road. Our city roads are not as bad. That's where our residents get confused. They want to feed back to us. They're concerned about our roads. But then when I ask them to name the roads, they name state-owned roads, county-owned roads. And we try our best to explain to them, we can pass along your concerns, but you also need to sign on SCDOT, pass your concerns along along with us. We don't manage SCDOT. So anyway, didn't mean to give a speech, but I just wanted to be, I feel Mr. Craven's passions, and I do not disagree with his term, bridge to Walmart. I like that. I might reuse that somewhere. But anyway.
Welcome to a patented, just pay me 5 cents every time you use it.
Okay. Right.
That's a
Thank you, Mayor. I certainly understand the passion behind Mr. Krayling's statement, but I would also respectfully disagree. This is not a tax that that we would impose. This would be a tax that voters would impose on themselves. And the voters of the city of Mauldin spoke 2 years ago that they wanted to have uh, a road fee to get these roads taken care of. Countywide, the capital projects tax only failed. It was a 51 and a half, 48 and a half. That's a narrow margin. And I believe all of the municipalities ended up approving it. So if we're talking about representing our people and the people who put us in these positions, South Carolina General Assembly has now created an outlet for, as Mr. Reynolds noted, to take the representative portion out and put democracy on the ballot and let our people decide for themselves, do you want this? So I have absolutely no problem forwarding this as an agenda item to be discussed at the next meeting. But we need to get whatever those projects might be dialed in, because there is a finite amount of funding that would come from this penny.
Mr. August has a question.
Hey, Seth, I'm just curious, has any of the municipalities who have looked at this thus far done anything where they would actually raise that 20% number?
Not to my knowledge at this point. But the only one I've had direct communication with would be our sister city, the South.
Gotcha. To a lot of the talk has been regarding the streets, and Mr. Matty just mentioned, I believe it was was it last year? Last November was the Greenville County vote? 24? Wow, 2 years ago. Okay. So it was a very close vote, but yet it didn't pass. And one of the reasons why I think that it got better compared to other past 1% attempts to raise roads is because we actually named the roads in them, versus just going to a general fund. Still, I have a little bit of concern. I think the mayor kind of pointed this out. When we talk to our citizens, they don't always know between a city-owned road, a county-owned road, and a state-owned road, and a federal road. And just to name them alone may not be enough. It just may be that they do not trust the fact that a 1% tax will actually go to these types of projects when we're talking about those types of street infrastructure. So when we look at the projects and the potential projects that we have here, I think looking at things like we have Fire Station 5, which is a public safety initiative. I think that will sit better with voters when we're talking about public safety issues. And if we decide, you know what, streets is where we need to look at, I think if we look specifically toward stormwater maintenance in relation to streets and helping to bump up that effort, we know that our citizens are very passionate about those types of projects. So public safety, stormwater, I think those two things are things that the general public would appreciate us putting before them, that we would probably get over that 50% hump. Just saying, naming the roads, or even looking just at a general thing for public roads, I think we've seen the record hasn't been in the favor. It's gotten better over the years. It got better in 2024, but I still think that there is a lot more that would have to be done um, to to get that into the mind of our voters to say, you know what, this is something that we can support. Because I think we all look at it, and Mr. Kraling pointed out, we all believe, that's a general take, that's a blanket statement, but I think we all see, and even the citizens see, we just don't see the money, right? Whether it's SCDOT or whatever it may be, we constantly talk about roads and the need for infrastructure, and yet we know when we cross the border in North Carolina, the roads get a lot smoother than they do here. So I think there's a public trust issue when it comes to saying we're going to put a penny tax toward any kind of improvements to those types of infrastructure. So I think we have to be very specific, not general. We would have to be very specific with, if we're going to do streets, name the streets. But if anything, I think if we can really hone in on how we can improve stormwater issues as it relates to those public right of ways, I think that would be something that our citizens would support.
All right.
Nobody else? No, thank you, Mr. Allgood. That's actually a point I was going to make after the vote, but I think it's an easy path to go straight to roads because it's the one that you can see, feel on your way here. But I do think you're absolutely right, being very specific about projects and maybe not the ones that can get washed up into state, local, but being very specific about ones like a public safety issue or expansion of Sunset Park. I think that's another thing that our citizens have fully supported based on your parks and recreation updates. Parks are always full. They're always bustling. So, as we consider this, I do think it's an important question on, is it street resurfacing that's important to put before the citizens, or is it Fire Station 5 or Culture Center grounds or Sunset Park? But as we navigate it, I think that's a really, really important question. Whether or not it passes or fails, I won't say I don't care, but whether or not it passes or fails, a lot of that can be the messaging of what you're asking. And are you asking to improve Sunset Park or an unnamed road in a big pot, to your point? So I think that's a really important consideration. And I had another thought, but it's gone now. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'm sitting here listening, had similar thoughts. My thing would be maybe to summarize what my fellow bearded gentlemen on the right here have kind of talked about is, to me, well, I don't know how you're looking at it.
All about perspective.
As most things, your perspective matters. On the right is what I said. Whatever. Lord of mercy. Sure, my left. These guys. I think the things that we need, if we're going to do this, then the things we need to put on the ballot are the things that have the impact for the most citizens. That is the only way that I would say it makes sense, because, and probably not a popular opinion from the standpoint of, if you look at 0.72 miles of road, there's a very, very small group of Mauldin citizens that benefit from this.
Unless it's your 0.2 miles.
Right. Unless it happens to be and I don't know what those roads are. Maybe it is. I don't know. But to me, what's that? Right. And I'm not saying we don't look at maybe some of those, but to say that all we're going to do is roads, to me, it would be very, very short-sighted. And I think would have a harder time getting public interest from the standpoint, again, like, I mean, I look at Sunset Park, hundreds and thousands of people every single day or weekly, yearly, whatever. The fire station's an obvious one to me from the standpoint of we know we continue to grow and expand. That's something that's got to be dealt with. That impacts a pretty significant part of the city. So to me, I can support it as long as the projects that we pick are going to have an impact on the most possible people. I want the most bang for the buck out of it if we're going to put it out there. That's my thoughts.
Well, I would ask you to keep in mind the fact that I don't disagree with anything that's been said. We all agree that we can pick our projects that would have the most impact. But you also just boil it down. If it's a way that we can generate revenue to attack some of our projects, what's going to get it passed? And if you pass any kind of tax and you just say nothing about roads, it's going to go down. So it's part of marketing 101 that if you're going to get a fair shot at getting the tax money in to tackle any of these projects, better focus most of it on roads. Because they look at that and like, I don't need another bathroom. We agree we do, but they're going to look at it and say, no, I got a lousy road that needs to be fixed. Now, all of our roads are defined. That study that we just seen last few months, the roads are named and graded. So that's what this came off of. The Marketing 101 says you better focus somehow with the marketing to let the citizens focus that we are attacking the roads and not just you're going to get money and then you're going to go willy-nilly with whatever you're going to do. There are people who said trails. We don't need those trails. I get in my car and drive 2 blocks to go to the next thing. So
On a bad road.
it's not a big deal right now. For a lot of people, some people. It's easy to use the term a lot, majority. None of us do that. Just keep that in mind as we go through this. I think staff did a great job of pulling some things together. I don't totally agree with all of them because I'm, again, focusing on what I think would make the biggest bang for the buck in public opinion and feedback and everything else. Right now, the focus is on infrastructure. When you ask citizens, please define infrastructure to me, roads. That's all it is, roads. There's ditches on the side of those roads, but they don't talk about that in the same vein. It's just roads. And when you try to define infrastructure being water, sewer, power, cable, ditches, stormwater, and all that, no, roads. Fix the roads. That's what they focus down to. I'm just feeding back what I get in the opportunity I have to be out in the public and meet with people and make presentations. So just keep that in mind. I'm not against any of these. One more quick thing. I mean, just take roughly if I had a $300,000 house, I'm going to get $65 relief. But my retail sales tax goes up a penny. If I have more discretionary money, I might spend more than $65 a year on a sales tax for liquor on Sunday afternoon. I don't know. I made that one up.
Well, that's Mr. Krayling's point when we talk about the give and take.
Yes, Ms. King, sorry.
I just wanted to add 2 quick things. Mr. Matney was kind enough to bring the map up. I'm a numbers person, and I think we all need to look at the facts. And the facts are, when you look at the map, the majority of Mauldin voted for the penny tax in 2024, except for one small area of Mauldin. He's looking now to see if we can narrow down the precincts, but the map's pretty much all green where it passed. So I think that's important for everybody to understand. Whether you like it or not, most folks in our city voted for a penny tax 2 years ago. And the second thing, we all know this, but nobody's talked about it. It's not just me going and spending money in the city of Mauldin and paying an extra penny. It's anybody that comes into our city is going to be paying that extra penny. So it's, that's kind of a give and take situation. And, when I go into, like I work in Anderson County, well, they have a local option tax in Anderson. So if I buy something there, I'm going to pay an extra penny and not get any benefit from it, unless they put it on the roads that I drive on to get to work. So just two common sense things that nobody here has talked about. But the biggest thing is that map is pretty much all green 2 years ago. I didn't realize that until 5 minutes ago. So
Question. How much money do we get from the state of South Carolina for our city roads?
$0. So actually, that was one of my last 2 points I wanted to make. Was, for those who aren't aware, we actually get 0 direct gas tax dollars. We have to go hat in hand to one of two groups, either through GLDTC, which is county C funds, or we have to go to GPATS and have a project listed. And there's technically a third, which is basically just begging DOT to put a road on the list, on their future repaving list. Ashmore Bridge Road is in desperate need of repaving. That's not covered in this list here, but it is something that we continuously, and we'll be meeting with DOT on Thursday, asking when you do your next road list, and that's for projects that'll be funded and repaved in 2 to 3 years from now. Can we please have Ashmore Bridge Road on that list? So right now we get $0 from the state. And every time we want to do a project, we have to ask either GLDTC or GPATS. And when it comes to GLDTC, the biggest thing they do there, while they have a great program, they do require a 50% match. So we always have to go in with a match, and we take cost overruns. So it's, each year we put 400,000 equivalent to 2 mills towards road resurfacing. County gives us 115,000 or so. And then GLDTC chips in another 300 or so thousand. So we might be getting about 800 to $900,000 of road work each year through those partnerships. And that's less than one paved one lane of 1 mile of paved roadway per year. And we have about 100 miles of roads in the city that we own as a city. That's not DOT, that's not county.
So not that our government would ever do this, but all of a sudden we get $18 million for roads through this. They all of a sudden, the money that they were providing to us, you don't need that much because you're getting your own now.
I could very well see that's an option. The county funds that we get for road resurfacing, that's I don't know of a statutory requirement for that. And C funds are an application-based process.
With the lottery, a lot of the things they said, hey, this is going to go for education, but then education doesn't get raised like it would have been increased because we have your tax, you have this other funds coming in here, so we don't need to use that money for some other projects.
It offsets further.
Yes, so it's not really a net increase necessarily for the city, but I mean, this 18 would be. In general, we could lose a lot of what we're already getting as well at the same time, so it may not be as big of an increase as.
Since we don't get a significant portion now, the revenue we would receive is significantly higher than what we would lose over the same time period. But your point is still valid, yes, sir. And the other thing, just as a cautionary note, is that if we do move forward with this, if council does adopt the ordinance and it goes before the people in November, we cannot use public dollars to advocate for the referendum. We can only use public dollars to educate about the referendum. And so we can't ask folks to support it. We can't say why you need to support it. We just have to say what it is and explain that voters will be able to decide in November to do this or not. And this is what the projects are and stuff like that, which we would do. But just want to make a clear distinction between educate versus advocate. We can only educate. But you on your personal Facebook page or Nextdoor account, you do whatever you want.
Literally. Can you talk to me a little bit about talk to me like I've got a crayon over here? Because I may. On the ad valorem tax,
yes, sir.
The 20% that can be returned, Mr. Allgood asked a question. It goes up to 20% or a minimum of 20% can be
minimum of. So
20%.
if you're just using these baseline numbers here, you're roughly looking at about $20 million. So if for instance council said, hey, let's take that to 30% or 35%, then you would just reduce the project revenue by the remaining percentage. But the state statute requires a minimum of 20% property tax relief.
And it's probably only a little bit of a principled concern that I have with that, where we carve out owner occupied units only, which obviously we support. But to the mayor's point, there'll be a lot of citizens within the city who don't own their property, and they're going to pay that same tax. And they're not going to get the benefit of it outside of if they drive on the road that we potentially look at. So one of the things I always have a concern with probably partly to Mr. Kralen's point, is how we can carve out little niches and sections and say, they're going to do a little better than these guys. It's a principled concern. It's just as we balance through some of this stuff that we have to each individually wrestle.
And just to be clear, that wasn't our choosing. That was the state statute.
Exactly.
It carves it out for owner.
Very much to my point.
Yeah.
And that's, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's very much to my point.
Calling it a tax relief act is pretty creepy.
It's officially titled Municipal Tax Relief Act, and yes, it does. The relief does go to property, owner occupied residential property in the city. So your renters wouldn't be taking advantage of this. The second, third unit owners, commercial property couldn't take advantage of this. It's only a credit for owner occupied residents.
Question?
I have one question, and you may not know the answer, but if you could inquire within. Usually, the 6% sales tax is not is not collected on unprepared foods or groceries. Sometimes the local option is. So my question is, if this was passed, or if we forwarded it as a referendum, would that 1% be collected on unprepared foods?
I will double check.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I don't think so either, but I'll double check.
Does, but I just want to double check.
We could do that. And that'd be
We'll double check.
These projections, 8 years.
I do like the sunset clause.
Not that we're gonna get all of this money year one. There's some bonding ways to look at it, but
Not that we would necessarily want to, but it says not to exceed 8 years. So if we wanted to lower that to 6 or 4 or whatever, we could.
Yes, sir. You could choose, council could choose 2, 4, 6, or 8. Who do we appreciate?
Thank you.
I think one of the things I think about with this is, while we obviously express frustration with what the state has passed to allow us to do this, it's also, to Mr. Matney's point, given the citizens an opportunity to direct what we want to do, what's important to the city, what's important to the citizens. So for that part of it, from our little chair here, and their big chairs in Columbia, I can appreciate that they're trying to give municipalities an avenue to directly affect their citizens. We may have some not nice things to say, but I can also appreciate trying to help us solve big issues and plan for the future. Because several of these things that are in our 10-year plan, I don't know how we're going to pay for them. There's can do the math. It doesn't extrapolate very well to look at how you buy another Station 5 that'll probably, which FYI, I think 4 million is nowhere close, but but those numbers are growing and growing and growing. Don't take that as a critique. I'm just saying
Oh,
As the industry's changed, 4 million is not going to get you much.
oh, no, absolutely. Yeah. And it seems as though with, you know, depending on what's going on with the economy, yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's who knows, but yeah, it won't be as much as fire station headquarters, but uh, yeah, but we're hoping that we're getting that donated land, so that'll help some of the costs there.
And again, don't take it as a critique of being on this project or anything. I'm just as the realization of year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from now. I don't know how you're going to pay for $18 million in roads, whether any of us are still serving or not. You know,
Right. Yeah. And that may be the advantageous, it may be advantageous to pursue, especially if we narrow down the projects to something very specific, like let's just say we're doing just for hypothetical purposes, the resurfacing. Well, do we bond it all out or not? Because we have that option, then that way folks see the immediate impact. You could also tuck some of that, we'll bond half of it for roads, bond this other project, and then, we'll have these other elements kind of on the back end if, revenues come in. I wouldn't say that I guess the only kind of downside to this is that it becomes revenue is based on economic, sales. So, and economic conditions. So if we hit a period where we're not seeing as much, you know, economic activity, then therefore our revenues will be less. And if we're fixed into a bond payment, then it has to be made up from somewhere else. So that's kind of the one kind of caveat to a bond issue. And do it all at one time, pay for it over time, and then yeah.
could we also put it as a referendum question number 2? Do you agree that SCDOT should use the gas trust fund or the $1.8 billion fund sitting down there to help us pay for the roads set above?
Yeah. Wait. If it's
Say we
council's
can't-
pleasure, I'm happy to add any additional
Just
questions
as an
you see
option
fit.
to I think Mr. Cravling's point.
They got somewhere I get frustrated as well. They came out with that gas tax. It's gonna fix all the roads in South Carolina. They failed to mention it wasn't gonna include county and city roads.
Sure.
So when they did pass it, it's, we're gonna fix all your roads. Well, now,
But I will add this, we have a good relationship with our local DOT office. And, right now they're resurfacing Miller Road. They just completed the patchwork. Resurfacing is going to be taking place here soon. They're working on the 385 and East Butler Bridge right now. They had recently completed the bridge over there at Bridges Road and 385. So we're starting to see more projects. They just resurfaced 276. So we are seeing some of those state gas tax dollars end up back in our community. Unfortunately, like a lot of other places, we're just so woefully behind on some of the DOT roads that it's unfortunately going to take a few more years for them to get caught up. I think once we get Build a Better Butler going and then ultimately Ashmore Bridge Road, that will be the bulk of the complaints that we receive are those two roads. And then from a DOT inventory standpoint, there's more to do. And yeah, thank you.
I think so. This is a workshop, so no action can be taken on it. This is simply
I was wanting to get a kind
lot
of
of
the pulse of
discussion.
council, and I feel like I'm feeling the pulse. So we will continue to. What we'll do is we're going to go ahead and work with the city attorney to draft the language and prepare that for a committee of the whole item or this month's council meeting, and then that way we'll refine based on some of the comments tonight the project list, and then that way we'll have a further discussion about it. Should council want to move forward with it? At least the ordinance will be drafted and prepared. The language will be prepared. The project list will be kind of better articulated in the way that we've based on some of the comments tonight, and then ultimately council can weigh in on that this month. Yes, sir.
Mr. Duncan, I know that at the next council meeting, I will be absent. And I remember having a conversation with someone on council, and I can't remember who. I think someone else might be missing as well. Is anyone else missing the next council meeting, or is it just this guy, I guess? So obviously, it doesn't make any difference. I just want to make sure that you would have at least a quorum.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, it does bring up an interesting question, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that based on our rules, if it's for work, that's an allowable participation in voting, but if it's for vacation or pleasure, then it's not. Is that just something to think about given, yeah, we're in an aggressive timeline just because of publication dates. So just wanted to put that food for thought out there for consideration.
That was the most recent ruling with our junior council, I mean, our now senior council attorney. Any other comments? I just, my last thing is just the potential projects we look at in the wording. Don't disagree with any of them, but I just think the focus has got to be on either marketing on our part, our citizens, that we're attacking the roads, we're fixing the roads. And if you take just the ones that are 11 to 40, that's 3.3 miles plus Holland Road. I mean, that's still $6, $7, $8 million there now, not over 8 years. And that's would be a tough sell to get it diluted into feedback on something other than roads. Don't disagree with any of them, but I think it would have a tough sell. Mr. Matt.
Quick question, because I know that we don't want to necessarily wait the 8 years for all of the money to come in. We could bond it beforehand and then dedicate those funds to be bond payments, correct?
Yes, sir.
Aggressively too.
Yep.
But it has to be for items on the list of the referendum that was approved by the voters. You couldn't deviate, you couldn't do the bond and say, oh, well, this popped up, so I'm going to push it over there.
It has to be on the list.
Mr. Craven's point is this is focused and defined, not up for discussion 3 years from now, unless we're not renewing it. But Mr. Duncan has a windfall found somewhere.
And that was the case with the ballot question 2 years ago. Everything that was a road project, that money had to go to those road projects. No ifs, ands, or buts. And we have 2 precincts in the city of Mauldin that said no 2 years ago.
Personal feedback was it was a trust issue. No matter how much fact you gave them, it was a trust issue that they didn't trust the body that was pushing. Broad statements always get me in trouble. It is what it is. Anything else? Council concerns?
Mayor, I just would like to say I enjoyed the Mauldin Police Department's humor on social media regarding the fireworks. I thought that was brilliant, and I think it got some good love. So I just appreciate them having humor, and we had a good fourth. Thank you.
The only thing I'd like to make council aware of, yeah, remember we lost former Councilman Bob Cook in a little while ago, where his Faye went on to join him Saturday morning. So her funeral will be next Monday at First Baptist Church. So keep that family in your thoughts and prayers, if you would, please. Anything else? Hearing none, what is council's pleasure on adjournment?
So moved.
Back from Mr. Reynolds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned at approximately 7:12. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fox, Carolina.